How? What's up, everybody? Wolfman Rob back at you with a brand new review. This time we're going to be talking about the film The Conjuring, The Last Rites, the final Conjuring film. Or is it? We're going to talk about that later on after the review, man. Spoiler free take on the film. Let's go ahead and throw that poster up and talk some details on this movie. There you go. The Conjuring, The Last Rites, the case that ended it all. The film is rated R for terror, bloody, violent content. Runs in at 2 hours, 15 minutes. It's classified as a horror, mystery, thriller film. That is the trifecta of awesome, as we like to call it here on the Wolfman Rob review dealio. So yeah, the Conjuring film. Very excited about this franchise. I remember the first time I saw the first Conjuring film, I was like, "Holy crap, man! What a difference in horror movies were going on now." Because like around that time, we're like slasher, fun, goofy kind of comedy, horror movies and all that stuff. There's still some gems out there and all that. But when The Conjuring came around, like it just there's this shift in the universe of horror films where we're doing very serious takes and very interesting takes and all that stuff. And I didn't know anything about the Warren artifact room or the Warrens or anything like that before this movie, man. So that introduced me to all of that, and then just going on this whole journey we've been on with the other three Conjuring films, which I did check out before I watched this movie. I did a marathon of those three films to lead up into this movie because those films focus mostly on the Warrens. Now, of course, the Warrens have been in other movies for like glimpses, brief glimpses and moments like the Annabelle Comes Home movie and all that stuff, but they're primarily in those Conjuring films. So that's why I just watched those instead of the whole universe and all that stuff. Because again, I just wanted to get back in the vibe of what the Conjuring films mostly are. So watching those three movies, I mean, those first two are just undisputedly awesome. Like, I think if you're doing like a ranking of the whole universe itself, those two are normally like in the top three, if not top two, for a lot of people when it comes to them, because those two were just knockout freaking films, man. They were just amazingly put together, amazingly awesome. And you see how that universe built off of those with Annabelle, of course, in the first movie, and then the Nun in the second movie. You did have the Crooked Man that was supposed to get a movie, but that never ended up happening. But the Nun, of course, ran off as well from that movie. So those two being the killer cornerstones that just moved this stuff going forward makes a lot of sense. Those movies are fantastic. The third one, The Devil Made Me Do It, I think gets a lot of mixed reviews and all that stuff. That one was like, if I remember correctly, was released in theaters and at home at the same time, and I believe I watched it at home the first time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched it at home the first time. We're still dealing with like I think the COVID process and all that stuff at that time, if I remember correctly. But watching it again was a better time this time around, but it was a different vibe than those first two movies. Those first two movies are like haunted house and all that stuff, and the demon in the house and what's going on here. At this time around in that movie, there's like satanic artifacts being left and causing a demonic curse around the stuff. It was a little weird movie, like a different take and all that stuff. So it was a different vibe and a different feel. It's an okay movie, but not the best, right? So going into this movie, I was like, all right, let's see what's going on. They're building it into this last film. I don't like that because I love the Warrens. They're fun to hang out with and all that. So I'm not liking the idea that we're billing this as the last film, but then you read into the story. All right, it's their last mission, if you will, their last case and all that stuff. So going into it, I was expecting a big, Warren thing again, where we're dealing with this demonic stuff because I didn't read the synopsis or anything like that. Barely watched any trailers. I tried my best not to watch any trailers now going into movies, and so I didn't really know what I was getting into. And I love the way the Conjuring, when it starts, it does their opening scene, and then they have like the Star Wars crawl that a lot of people will call or whatever, where it scrolls up and you see, the what we're talking about with the case and all that stuff. So I liked that. It gave us a little bit of detail and all that. The movie started a little bit different than normal with the Conjuring films, but still a good introductory setup and all that. And from there, going through the movie, we learned that it's not necessarily, even though it is a Warren's film, it's not primarily focused on Ed and Lorraine as much as it's Judy's movie. Like this is Judy Warren's movie from the beginning to seeing her start her as a baby and all that stuff, going into this final case and her connection and all that stuff. Like that was something I was not expecting to get into and all that. Different actress again for Judy. Judy's changed, I think, in every single film. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's for sure not McKenna Grace. McKenna Grace was Judy in the Annabelle Comes Home movie, but yeah, it's a different actress yet again, and I don't know why they keep changing it. I know we're dealing with time frames and all that stuff, so I know if we're going back in time, but I feel like the last Conjuring movie, I don't know. whatever. But different actress, she's fine in it, of course. But I think a lot of us are here to see Ed and Lorraine and all that stuff, and we get some time with them, especially building off of what's going on with Ed since that last movie. Remember the demon messing with his heart in that movie and all that stuff. There's yeah, repercussions still going on into this movie and all that. And you can see they're older. You can see they're getting towards the end of their run here, and the effects that everything's having on them throughout this. So it's good storytelling in that aspect. Again, wasn't expecting the Judy part, but it was cool to see her get involved in it. I don't know her whole story in real life either. To be honest with you, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to their real life stories. To be completely honest with you, I've mostly just watched the movies, but entertaining. It involves around the Conjuring mirror and all that stuff. So that is where, of course, the name of the whole universe comes up and all that. And again, not gonna talk about what happens and all that stuff that goes on in the movie, but that's our demon artifact in the movie is the Conjuring mirror and what goes along with that and everything. Interesting concept. Again, you can tell there's a bigger budget now than there was with those first two movies, and at least I think so. But it just looks that way. They're doing more with special effects and all that they're throwing into the movies and everything. It's just a different vibe from those first two movies. Those first two movies are like just like undefeatedly awesome and all that stuff. You can kind of take some issues here and there with the last two Conjuring movies if you want to, but I liked it. I definitely liked it more than the last one, the Devil Made Me Do It one. That was an interesting case. This one was definitely felt more of the classic vibe we're used to with the first two Conjuring movies and all that. And I think it did a pretty good job. It's not all that scary. Again, I keep bringing up the first two movies. First two movies definitely better on scares, but there are a couple of jump scares here and there that will get some people. But the story's good. Story makes sense. It's again, it's Judy's story. It's building towards around that area and all that stuff, and building around the end of the whole thing there. So overall, solidly entertaining movie for me. It's not one of my favorites of the universe by any means, but I liked it. I like to give it. It's probably top five. I haven't really broke it down to figure out where I would put it. It's probably right there around top five and all that stuff. But for it being the final Conjuring movie, I guess it makes sense if you're going to use their final case and all that stuff. I can see that. Like I can see that being the way they went with it and all that stuff, especially with the ending and then all that stuff. Well, there's a credit scene. There's an end credit scene, but not nothing that builds towards anything or anything like that. It's mostly like the other Conjuring films. I'm trying not to spoil what it is, but mostly like the other Conjuring films, how they show at the end during the credits, they show the case files and all that stuff, and they show the real life photos and everything. They do that again here, and then there's something at the very end about the past history of the Warren stuff and all that. Nothing that sets up anything at all. So they are very much building into that. This being the final Conjuring movie and everything. So overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think it was pretty solid in aspects. There's other aspects where it's like okay, but enjoyable enough. One of the better films in the Conjuring universe for sure, but still misses on what the first two films nailed perfectly, if you ask me. That is my quick thoughts. If you saw The Conjuring: The Last Rites, let me know in the comments what you were thinking about that movie. But it did fantastic. Did fantastic business, made a ton of money and all that stuff. That's what we're going to go into talking about the future of this universe and all that. So, with it being the last time we see the Warrens, nothing new by any means. I think we're still going to get something, some way, somehow. Especially that universe isn't done. Again, they just made a bunch of movies. We're talking about a universe that's had 3 Annabelle movies and 2 Nun films. And there's a ton of other stuff you can do in that universe. I mean, we've all seen the artifact room in there. There's a bunch of stuff they haven't touched on. They touched on it a good bit in Annabelle Comes Home. Like they played with some of those characters and some of those cases in there. But there's other aspects that there's no way they're going to take this universe that's big and known. It may take a break for a while because I don't know if anything is on the way. I haven't heard anything about an Annabelle movie or a Nun movie. Again, we mentioned the Crooked Man earlier. That one's been, I'm pretty sure that's scrapped at this point because again, they announced that pretty quickly after The Conjuring 2, and nothing's really happened with it since. And nothing else. There's reports of a Conjuring origin story movie coming out, but nothing from a reputable website. And there's reports of a Conjuring TV show. Again, nothing from a reportable website. So I couldn't tell you. The future is nothing right now, but there's going to be something. There's no way whatsoever that they're not going to release more stuff in that universe. And again, there's a lot of toys you can play with, pun intended, in this whole universe that they can, work with and do other things with. But at the moment, it seems like it's going to be taking a break. Like I said, I don't know, and I haven't seen of anything reputable about what the future of the universe is, other than this movie that just came out that just did a ton of business, is the end of the Warrens cases. Again, there's a ton of other cases. You'll have to go back in time and all that stuff. If they're done with doing the stuff, that is their prerogative. Maybe they'll have to recast Ed and Lorraine Warren, or younger Ed and Lorraine Warren, and all that stuff. But as of now, the Conjuring universe ends on a pretty high note, especially with the Warren cases. Again, very solid movie. Don't know if I'm giving it enough credit for a lot of the stuff it does in this movie. The story is mostly the detail because we're there for the Warren family. Like the other stuff that's going on, the scary aspects and all that stuff is fun little additions, but we're here to see what's going on with the Warrens and where they're at now and how they get here and how they go that. And it's back to like the basics in a way with this film, but still missing what those other two movies brought, if that makes sense. But that's gonna be it for this review, man. So appreciate you checking it out. Hope you had a good time in my review. If I'm an idiot, I'm an idiot. I don't know, but I'm just giving you my thoughts on the movie. If you saw it, let me know what you thought on the films down in the comments. But that's gonna do it for this episode. I'd like to always remind you that you matter. You're capable of incredible things. Chase those dreams. Believe in yourself, and they will happen for you, man. Whether it's what you're expecting or not, glory is there waiting for you as long as you believe and trust in yourself, man. So appreciate you hanging out with me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, a year. And as always, remember happiness can be found even in the darkest of times. If one only remembers, turn on that light, man. Talk to you all next episode.